Hey traders, Mike Katz, 7 Points Capital here with today's trader takeaway. More action today, a bunch of things moving. We had some nice winners. We had one loser that I want to go over, and let's get right to it. So, as a whole, before we talk about any individual stocks, the SPYs, the market, still holding near highs. This morning it looked like there was going to be a nice sell-off, which there was some follow-through, and then that reversed very quickly and bounced off of previous day's support. And let's see here on the longer term chart, we can see that every dip has been bought, and today was no different. So there was some nice action on the market going down. I even had a few trades in the SPYs. I ended up coming out of it green, but didn't get the follow through I was looking for. I was actually in this range. I figured this could be rolling over, potentially putting in a couple lower highs. Took a shot out of here and made some money, and just quickly realized that this market is not looking to sell off again. So closed out some of the long VIX trades, closed out the short SPY trade, and moved on. And it ended up being a small winner on this one, but just overall the market is strong, and we'll see now with Apple earnings and some more big names coming out, how the market behaves. But as a whole, the SPYs still has a bid, another bottoming tail on the daily, on decent volume, and let's see how we behave the next couple of days. But let's move on to the best stock of the day, both for the desk and for myself, and that's TEVA. TEVA had earnings and didn't do too well. They missed by 5 cents, it looks like, and it dropped right in the morning as it opened. I was not involved early on. I wasn't engaged and logged in this early. Too bad, right? But I was able to get involved once the market opened, and keeping in mind the day lows, the pre-market lows were 1180, and let's see on the longer term chart, was this one that had no, yeah, so this is the one we were targeting, this 1250 at first, and then no, that's not right. Yeah, so 1250 was the first support, and once we broke that, well, there was just no man's land, a lot more room to the downside there. So TEVA was weak all day, and let's see, let's zoom into today's action. And there was a nice quick drop, lots of volatility, and we were trading this to the short side. Everything we want to see in the name, SSR, lots of volume, thick quote, big range, and this was a really nice one for us all day long. It was a matter of reading the tape, reading the level 2, looking at the chart setups, and pretty much all day long I was pretty active in this and had some nice trades to the short side. I remember here we had a lift that ended up coming back more than I thought, and ended up losing a little bit here on the short side, thinking that this consolidation was going to curl back over to the downside. So I gave back some profits from the previous shorts as this came back and tested VWAP, broke this level, and then here just reclaimed VWAP. But there was, at this point, I was probably up a little bit on TEVA, giving back some of the profits from the morning. But what really jumped out at me was these really big topping tails in a weak stock that had really big volume, and it didn't get any follow through to the upside after those, especially after this particular one, and it was just off to the races again and getting short pretty much the rest of the day on most bounces. So I personally was pretty active in it, lots of in and out, and capitalizing on the quote, capitalizing on the move, and catching 5, 10, 15, 20 cents at a time. And the best trades came right here when we broke this triangle and we went below VWAP, and now covered some of the shorts had on from before, and just saw that this was not bouncing, it was holding, and just used every pop to get short. And starting from here, let's mark it up a little bit so you guys can see better. So this area, getting short and covering some into the washes, as the quote was showing that it might reverse back up, take some off, and every time it would just reverse back up. It was a matter of putting some more back on and covering on the washes again, just trading around the core. Let me zoom in a little bit, then you can see, because these pops were happening really quickly, and it was just a matter of having orders out and getting the short. And just as long as the trend is down, every one of these little blips to the upside, every one of these pops to the upside were great opportunities to add to the short and cover into the wash, trading around the core. And then here, this area, if you look at the topping tails, were not present in this area, even though I was adding to the short here. And when it wasn't just going right back down, I was covering some, and then did get hurt a little bit here on this lift, more, because it came back up more than it did previously. But it was just a matter of the stock putting in another top, and wasn't too big, and then just being nimble and getting back in to see if this thing had some more legs to the downside. And that's what we saw. We had another nice push afterwards, after that, to the downside. And it was overall a really nice day in TEVA for us. For us, it's A+ stock, lots of A+ setups where we're looking to trade off of reading the tape, reading the level 2, chart patterns, momentum of the chart, and SSR was also very helpful. So TEVA was great. It'll be on our watch list for tomorrow. And if we check out the daily, we can see that we closed pretty weak. If tomorrow we get some sort of a green open, not too much, let's say, I don't know, up 20, 30 cents, not more than that, then we might have a green to red trade on our hands where potentially we can retest today's lows. So that's TEVA. And another one that was really fantastic for us was OCLR. All right, so let's see if I can pronounce this right. OCLR Inc. Earnings, really weak day. Pre-market, in addition to last night, a big drop. Pre-market, a big drop. And once it opened, it had, again, just a topping parabolic move intra bar, meaning like within the 1 minute, it just had this crazy move that most likely screwed a lot of longs and stopped out anybody on the short side that didn't really have any appetite for risk. And then once that was out of the way, it was just straight down and got rejected and couldn't hold VWAP, and from that point on, it was just below VWAP all day long. So what we were looking at was this reject here by this VWAP area, got involved here, came back, double bottom off of the morning low, bounced, couldn't get a healthy bounce at all, which puts us towards our, let's see, let's get another trend line going here, which pretty much puts us at another descending triangle. Every pop was lower than the previous one, and eventually the bid just couldn't hold. It was 625, I believe, was the bid. I kept on holding, and once that gave way, boom, it was just gone, and didn't really give too much of a chance to add on a retest. So the trades were getting short here, covering some at support, and then using the bounce to get back in. And one thing that we do well is we have a really good understanding of the microstructure. We trade with pretty much every trading venue out there, every execution venue, dark pools, and as I mentioned before, market makers, ECNs, all that good stuff. And during this area here, we spotted that there was some heavy buying, some block prints going off. We were able to participate and sell block positions of 10,000 shares or more, and that buyer was just not enough to overpower the stock, and the sellers regained control. And when you see something like that, large buyers, and still they're not able to impact the stock, the stock still ends up being weak, putting in lower highs and lower lows, then you know that there's a lot of selling, you know there's a lot of underlying weakness in the stock. And coincidentally, what ended up happening was when that buyer buying those large block prints stopped, that's when the symbol just ended up taking a huge move to the downside, percentage-wise very big, and also one where we could trade decent size and capitalize on these short-term moves. So being able to size in here and seeing that the buyer no longer was around was a matter of just letting the position work and let it continue to unwind, and covered right around here. The target for me was the height of the triangle, you know, where this had about 50 cents height, and we were here 625. I was targeting 570, and also on the longer term chart we can see that 570 was this area where we had support. So personally, when I was shorting that triangle right here, I'm putting down a trade thinking, okay, I'm going to risk. Initially when I was getting in, I was risking about 10 cents, then 5 cents. And by trading around the core, I was able to create some cash flow, and pretty much was in a trade where I wasn't risking a whole lot anymore. And I was just looking to see if I can catch a really big move, a 50-cent move on big size. And it ended up giving up a really nice move. Not that 50 cents we were looking for, but you know, ended up being about a 25-cent move, touched the figure, but I was scaling out some as it was coming down here, and I ended up covering the rest here. And I could have done a better job at getting back on this bounce, but I was preoccupied with TEVA, with the larger trades, and it never came back up to my A+ setup where I would have been involved. Let's see, I would have been involved here. Let me draw that out. I would have been involved right there with my A+, right below that massive resistance, getting in, risking versus this area right here, 35, 40 area. And that for me was going to be an A+ setup. It just never made it back up. In hindsight, if it doesn't make it back up there, then you know it's information that it's weaker than if it did make it back up there. But I was pretty much done with this trade right here and didn't re-engage. There was another move afterwards, but I was done with this trade. So overall, OCLR was a good one, and the desk had some really nice trades in there as well. But as you can see, this last leg down that did break the figure, I was not involved in. But again, this is another one that's going to be on our radar for tomorrow. But keeping in mind that that level 570 area is going to be support. So I'm going to see if there's any risk reward trades worth even taking tomorrow with that support nearby. So let's see, and one I want to go over, PYDS, that is just again a loser for me, and I want to mention where I went wrong, where my mistakes were, where I didn't follow my rules, and where I could have lost less. And I think that's going to be a good lesson for myself and everybody watching. And so on this day here, if you guys remember from previous video, I ended up losing in this stock as well, and losing here, and then finally caught this move for a small move down, but it was still red on this stock on this day. And then I did take some home short this day, and yesterday it was weak and closed pretty weak in my opinion. And what I look at with these names is the level, right? So let's look at the daily quickly. 260 was the area we were trading against. It ended up peaking above and coming back down below. And if we zoom in and not include today's action, maybe you guys can figure out what I was seeing. So yesterday we stayed below that resistance. We closed off the lows, which wasn't optimal, but we were still sitting here just like on this day, and just taking a breather. And I was thinking potentially we can get another big drop. Sometimes it doesn't come on day 2. You get the drop on day 3 and 4. And that's kind of what I had in mind in this. So looking at yesterday's action, I sized into more here, thinking that, let's see, let me draw this out this way, thinking that a lot of volume took place right there, right? This area, it spent a lot of volume, a lot of time, which means a lot of volume traded there, as we can see with the volume profile. And when we got below there, and now everybody who was long is underwater, that's usually, you know, my setup that I go to all the time. And now I want to be selling this thing and put a stop above here, which is above a significant pivot and above this volume profile where all the longs are stuck. And that's how I came in this morning. But the stock perked up yesterday in after hours, which I wasn't happy about, obviously. And today, pre-market, it also had a little bit of a bid. And I stopped out of half the position here. I figured, you know, I didn't want to be ticked out by just a quick move, but I said to myself, I better put just at least half of my position and put a hard stop in there, just in case it has a crazy move. And I don't want to freeze and be a deer in the headlights and just end up watching this thing go to $4 or $5 with my full position. So I did have a hard stop in there right here at 375, I believe it was, and that took me out. So that I did well. I feel like I executed that part well, but I ended up pushing it afterwards, where here I felt maybe this thing can get back below, and this was just a shakeout move. Got below VWAP, so I sized back in here, and this ended up being a loser again. So took a loss as it just kept on going up on the half again, and kept the original half. It came back down, held this 25 area, 20 area, and when I saw that it didn't want to break and just held here, I ended up just cutting the trade off and just being done with it. Since I'm not reading the stock well, it's already second day where it's got my number. I didn't follow my rules fully in this one, so I said, you know what, I'm going to be done with it, move on. It ended up being probably about a 3 to 4 hour loss, and that's something you never want to see. You want to keep it to 1 hour as much as possible. So I was done with it and moved on. Hurt a little bit, but hey, overall, another great day. A lot of the other symbols made up and then some, but I want to go back and spend some time and seeing what I could have done better with this PYDS, because these types of things are always going to come back. It's not just a one-off thing. So let's see, we got Apple earnings. I got the chart up here. That's pushing up. So that's going to be interesting for tomorrow. And lots more earnings in the pipeline. So we'll be watching, doing our homework, and seeing what's going to be in play for tomorrow. So again, another nice day. Overall, the desk did fantastic today, and excited about earnings. Hopefully the action continues, and we just got to follow our rules and minimize our losses and let our winners run. And that's it. Thursday night. Everybody have a drink, get ready for the weekend. See you guys tomorrow. Thanks.